ರಂಜಿತಕ್ಕ ಕೇಳಿಸ್ತಿದ್ಯಾ? ರಂಜಿತಕ್ಕ Dr. Ranjita? Dr. Ranjita, can you hear me? Dr. Ranjita, Dr. Ranjita, your voice is breaking. Dr. Ranjita? Dr. Rajesh, I think we will start. In the meantime, you can check with her on the phone what is the issue and keep track. As soon as she joins, she can take over. Yeah. Okay, doctor. I will begin. Yeah. So, very good evening and a warm welcome to Dr. Leelavati and Dr. Pujita Krishnan, and also uh, Dr. Rajiv, Dr. Rajkumar Desai on YouTube. Let us begin. It is 5:45. I apologize for the technical errors and the delay in starting. Uh, at the outset, let us begin with a prayer to Lord Ganesha, who is the remover of all obstacles and who is also the one who blesses us with Sadbuddhi. वक्रतुण्ड महाकाय सूर्यकोटि समप्रभ निर्विघ्नं कुरु मे देव सर्वकार्येषु सर्वदा. Now let us look at a few instructions that we need to follow in the course of this talk. All of you are we request you to keep your mics muted while the discourse is going on. When you have any doubts that you need to clarify, you may please unmute the mic and ask your questions. Similarly, when we have the subtle dimension experiment and any other interaction, please do unmute the mic and participate actively. kindly ensure that your video is not on, does not become on in the course of the lecture. We will be displaying email ID and telephone number in the chat box off and on. Please keep an eye on that. If you have any questions, any queries, or any opinion, any doubts, or you want any particular topic to be covered in the next coming sessions, you may please type in there. Send us to that email or that send us in WhatsApp message to the mobile number that we will be showing. Now let us begin with today's discussion. Initially, I will be devoting just about 5 minutes to take a review of the previous satsang, just to recapitulate what we have covered. In the previous satsang that we held on the 7th of March, actually about a month ago, we had discussed about what are the 8 steps, that is the Ashta Angas of the Guru Krupa Yoga as being taught by my Guru, Param Pujya, Dr. Jayant Balaji Athavale. In those 8 steps, we had talked about 1. Nama Japa, 2. Satsang, 3. Satseva, 4. Tyag, 5. Personality defect removal, 6. Aham Nirmulan, 7. Bhav, that is spiritual emotion, and the 8th component is what we call as Preeti, that is love without expectations. In that same satsang on 7th of March, we had also learned briefly about each of these. Then in the satsang that we held on the 21st of March, that is a fortnight ago, we had given an introduction to the topic of personality defect removal. So in that we discussed how in our scriptures and whenever you go to any guru or any spiritual program which is Indian, they always talk of what are called as Shadripu, that is the 6 foes. So these Shadripus, that is Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Mada, Moha, Matsarya, that is desire, anger, greed, arrogance, attachment, and jealousy. These 6 foes are the ones which we have been always been told to get rid of. So in today's context, in the using today's terminology, a scientific terminology, Gurudev Dr. Athavale has coined the personality defect removal technique. So personality defect removal is the equivalent of eliminating the Shadripus. Then we looked and we also saw the physical, psychological, and spiritual effects, mal effects due to the existence of personality defects in us. So at the physical level, we saw how personality defects make us to succumb to psychosomatic illnesses. At the psychological level, we saw how it causes stress in everyday, day-to-day, small events, and we saw how it interferes in the interpersonal relationships and how it causes anxiety, depression, and these such other illnesses. In the spiritual realm, we looked into how when we indulge in behavior that is inappropriate, that is when our personality defects manifest in the form of action, whether it is by thought, word, or deed, we lose the sadhana that we have been doing. And we learnt about the equivalent in that, like for example, if in a fit of anger, a sadhak, a seeker, abuses another person, then he loses the benefit of approximately 30 malas of chanting. So see, we can see the severity of the loss that we sustain when we have personality defects. So this was the review of what we have covered till now. So next, now we want to give a few minutes to the topic about practical aspects of the sadhana. If any of you have been starting, are already doing, I request you to kindly participate in this session. Those who are on Teams can unmute their mics and talk. Those who are on YouTube can type in their what efforts they have been putting in to do sadhana, and whether they have any difficulties or whether they have got any spiritual experiences. Can anybody please be forthcoming and talk about your experience or ask your question? Dr. Monita, we had active participation from you last time. Do you want to
Yes,
volunteer
sir.
any information?
Um, okay, Akka. Yeah. I I have been doing chanting from now it's about 2 years regularly, Um and in my workplace, whatever problems I would face in the hospital, it would all get solved very easily without me doing anything. And if I don't chant, then everything becomes very confusing and very disorganized. I don't know how that happens. And being a junior most, I get held responsible for many things I don't do, or two, three in between seniors will be there. They'll be trying to catch you. So all these things wouldn't happen whenever I chant. So I on top of that, I would be appreciated also, which I didn't even like have expectations. I just want to do my work and go. But on top of that expectation, appreciation also I would get. And another thing was, in a very competitive environment, if I have to do a presentation and I'm very poor in computer and all, I have worked in centers where we have only written. Um,
So
uh,
overall,
so
uh,
yes,
overall,
that help. Yes,
we feel that chanting has helped you.
yes, it has helped me a
Uh,
lot.
yeah.
And only thing is, I'm not able to do it with lot of ease. I do it with lot of stress. Like I have to do it like that. So now a little bit headaches and fever, heat and all that doesn't happen. I'm easily able to do, but I would like that it should increase. And I feel like many negative my negative patterns are being I'm becoming very aware of it. Like if seniors are criticizing, I don't stand up and tell them, please don't talk to me in this tone or in this way. I hesitate to say that, even though now I'm, because being a student and all, we've taken it, we think it's become a habit. But now I am a junior consultant, I can say, but still I don't say. So that is the problem
Uh,
that
so,
I feel.
as we progress
uh,
with these sessions,
yes,
we will be
yes,
covering all that definitely. Very, thank
yes,
you very much,
yes.
Monita. I would
Yeah,
like
thank
to, like
you.
maybe you can try to analyze and find out what is coming in the
Mm,
way of chanting more, or what is the resistance
yes.
to chanting, and we can talk about
Mm.
it personally later also.
Okay, Akka.
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Anybody else would like to, Dr. Uday, would you like to share your experience with chanting or any difficulties?
Mm.
Okay, Dr. Shivalila, madam, are you there? Would you like to share anything? I find there's somebody with the ID Pujita Krishnam. Can we know your identity, sir, madam? Would you like to share anything?
Yes. Hello, ma'am. Am I audible? Namaste. Am I audible?
Yes, you're audible. Yeah.
Yes. Namaskar. I'm Dr. Pallavi. I'm joining from Tirupati actually. So I'm from the field of Ayurveda. This is actually my daughter's email ID, this Teams ID. So my name is not getting displayed.
That's
Uh,
okay. That's okay, Dr.
yeah,
Pallavi. Thanks.
I'm like what I would like to share is I'm already sadhak associated with Sanatan Samstha from many years, doing chanting, etc., but not too intense, but somehow trying to make it a samskara. And spiritual experiences as such is now it is like every incident seems to be a spiritual experience actually. So everything seems to be miracle when we are into it continuously. That's what I would like to say.
Uh, Very nice, Dr. Pallavi. Very nice. So glad you shared. And it is, I feel that the way you are telling that everything is, miraculous kind of, probably your sadhana is occurring at much deeper level, and maybe you are doing a lot of effort to develop bhav, that is spiritual emotion. Very good. Please do keep joining every session, and
Yeah, definitely.
others in the session will also draw inspiration from you. Very nice. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
Dr. Uday, would you like to say anything? I think there's somebody who has joined with the ID Basavaraj. Can I know your identity, sir? And would you like to say anything? Can I know your name and from where you have joined? Very good. Yeah, very good. Yeah. I think if there are no further sharing on about the one sadhana, I would just like to make a few points here. You see, many of you are attending regularly every fortnight, and it would definitely be nice if you have started spiritual practice, if started your nama japa and trying to do some seva and all that. But if you have any difficulty in undertaking the spiritual practice, or if you have any doubt regarding the spiritual practice, or in case you are in doubt about whether you should continue the what we have told, or there is any conflict about what you are already doing and what we are telling, in any case, please do feel free to communicate. uh, it will be this 1 hour that you are putting in into the fortnightly satsang. Once we wish, intensely, we wish very earnestly that you should get maximum benefit from this. And as my guru has been telling, and we have been stressing also, that in spirituality, verbal knowledge is important to the extent of only 2%. Like, for example, if I read volumes and volumes and volumes about namasmaran, but if I don't do Namasmaran, that importance remains only 2%. And I will only get spiritual experiences and I will start progressing spiritually when I actually start doing the practical part of it. Like, I may not know much theory about chanting, but if I start doing the chanting, if I start doing the Namajapa, then we will definitely start getting experiences and we will progress. So, our endeavor during all these sessions has been to try and get each one of you to initiate spiritual practice, and those who have already initiated to kindly put efforts to intensify the spiritual practice. Okay, with that, I think now we will go to the main topic of today's discourse. Yes, is everybody able to see the slides? Anyone who cannot see, please unmute and tell us. Dr. Pallavi, Dr. Nonita, Dr. Uday, Sri Basavaraj, everybody is able to see. You can type in S, just a letter S in the chat.
Yes, we can see.
Dr. Anjesh, shall I proceed? It seems as if everybody is able to see. Oh, sorry. Yes, yes. Am I audible now? Yes. Okay. So we are talking about the um, angle on, as we said in the Ashtanga Sadhana, we are talking about the fifth step, that is the personality defect removal. So, as we discussed, sadhana, when we do sadhana, our objective is to progress spiritually. But if we don't pay attention to our personality defects, we lose a lot of sadhana. It's, for example, if I'm filling the water into the tank from the top, but if we keep the tap leaking, then the tank will never become full. So, a person who does not do, you can see on your screens, a person who does not do the process of personality defect removal, who does not take his personality defects seriously and does not work on it, will be, like very unhappy, sad, and always stressed. And his mind will always be, full of thoughts and anxiety. And if those who from the subtle can, those who can see the subtle vision and see the aura, they'll see that around that person's body there will be a covering aura which is very dark and very dense. Whereas in a person who does the personality defect removal process technique, or who is consciously putting in efforts to improve himself by overcoming the personality defects, in his case, the aura will be very clean and he has no clutter of thoughts in his mind, and so his mind is more in communion with God, and his aura is very clean and bright. So, in the to begin with, for the personality defect removal process, it is important to know what uh, what exactly I am, what is the real me, like that. Most of the time, we have, each one of us has some kind of uh, understanding or an image about ourselves. So, for example, we think that I may think that my thoughts, my behavior, my actions are always appropriate. And based on this kind of feeling, I may make an image of myself. But actually, the real me is different from what I think myself to be. For example, I may think that I do everything in a very systematic manner, or I am very helpful to others. So such thoughts may be very deeply embedded, but whether it is really true like that, we will not know unless we actually introspect and try to see where all, for example, if I say I am very neat and organized, unless I notice situations where I am not neat and organized, I'll continue to have that image of about myself that I am very neat and organized. Or if I think that I am very helpful and I am a very kind person, and those instances where I'm unkind, I don't notice, I don't take note of, I'll continue to believe that I'm a very good person and I'm very kind, whereas in reality, it may not be so. So, in the personality defect removal process, what we begin with is initially a study of one's own mind. It begins with an observation, and the normal tendency of looking outward starts changing to look inward. In under normal circumstances, what all of us do is, what I have done is right, what I am saying is appropriate, these are the kind of thoughts we have. The other thing, as an extension of this, when something goes wrong, what we tend to feel is this something is not okay because of some external circumstances. So we blame the situation, or we blame the persons who are involved in that incident. However, as seekers and as serious seekers and wanting to develop spiritually, we should start looking at, in that situation, what exactly was there any mistake on my part? Did I fall short? Did I contribute to the occurrence of that incident in a negative way? And I should also try to find out what kind of defect has led to that kind of behavior from me. So we have to find, and what also we have to look at whether I could have done something so that the outcome of that incident could have been different. So sometimes we do some act, and actually what happens is we are what happens is we tend to think that there was nothing we could have done, and we leave the situation. But rather, as the personality defect removal, we work on it, we start realizing that many times we don't do certain, suppose there is something happening in front of us which is not appropriate, and there is an option to, oppose that or do something about it. We think that it is okay, why should I do? But once you start doing the defect removal process, you realize that being passive when things are not happening right, when there's something criminal thing going on, then that is actually a defect. That is, one is not courageous, or one is shy, or one is very self-centered and very not at all concerned about the what is happening around us or about other people. So these are also to be taken as personality defects. So all this process will start only when we start when we develop. Just one second. I'm sorry, I think something is happening. Is anybody taking control of the slides? Please don't. No, it was showing Dr. Hari Prakash has taken control, and that's okay. It has gone now. That's okay. Yeah. So now, so here we are trying to depict what happens. So you can see on the left side, a young girl is sitting very morose and depressed, and you can see she's having a lot of fear is being reflected on her face. So this person is like this at the beginning. Then when the person starts giving auto suggestions and does the personality defect removal process, then one by one the defects get eliminated and the person becomes happy because the personality defects are removed. So life becomes less stressful, or progressively, there is hardly any stress left by working on the personality defect removal process. Now let us look at how the mind works. In order to understand the personality defect removal process and what are the techniques that we use for the personality defect process, we have to understand how the mind works and what is it made up of. So if we conceptualize the mind as one round entity, we can see here in the top portion, we have written conscious mind is 10%. That means that the mind that we have, only 10% of it is conscious. That is things that we are aware of. But the larger part of the mind, that is the 90% of the mind, is what is the subconscious mind. So how the mind works is when there is an external stimulus of any kind, the input comes into the conscious mind. Like for example, we can take an example of a mango. Okay, when a person sees a mango, at the conscious mind, it registered that it's a mango, and then the information is processed in the subconscious mind. So in the subconscious mind, there will be a center for likes and dislikes. So a person who likes the mango will say that, okay, yes, I must eat it. Then there is a center for discrimination. So if the person has a strong sense of discrimination, then he may say that this mango is I have come to visit somebody and I cannot just pick the mango and eat. Whereas if the person is unscrupulous, if that is the sanskar in that person's mind, that person may, just pick the mango without asking to whom it belongs, or may even rob it when somebody is not looking at it. So we see that the input comes from outside, but the processing happens in the 90% subconscious mind. And what happens in this 90% of the mind is what determines the action from us as a response to that particular event that is happening in front of us. So when we, for example, if we take an incident that somebody is talking very loudly in front of me, and I hear that that person is talking very loudly and acting very gregarious, and that information comes into my mind. So when it goes to my likes and dislikes center, uh, I feel that I don't like it. Then it goes to the discrimination center. Then I feel that I should not be engaging in fight or trying to um, suppress, force that person or fight. And it may say that, let me try to talk to that person softly. Or it may say that, anyway, it is their freedom, let me go away from here. So, like that, for example, this is how we go on. And all these things, the human mind is such a rapid processor that all these things happen within a fraction of a second. To give you another example, suppose I meet, suppose I've had an unpleasant interaction with somebody many years ago. But today, when I see that person, when once my eyes see that person, immediately it is recognized, processed through the mind, and we have seen, like impulse crimes which happen on remembering some meeting a person who has done a lot of injustice or cruelty to that to A has done to B, suppose. So then, when B sees that A person, within a fraction of a second, the person is seen, recognized, it is processed through all that memory and all that, and action comes. And there are people when impulse crimes where the person may have hit him, may have killed him, like that. So see how the mind works. The ultimate output is determined by what is the content of the subconscious mind. That is the 90% of the mind, and not by the 10% mind. So to put the same thing in a positive way, just to highlight the concept of this mind, suppose we decide that I want to do chanting. So today I am deciding with a conscious mind that I want to chant, I want to do Namajapa. But this is a new thought. I am just taking it in. And whereas in the 90% of the mind, there are thoughts about everything else except chanting. So what happens initially, the chanting will not happen. Only when I remember consciously or somebody tells me, I will start doing the chanting. So I have to put a lot of effort to do that. But when we go on chanting after a long time, then we create a center for chanting, a devotion center, chanting center in the mind, and then it starts becoming automatic. So when one of the participants is saying that there is some resistance to chanting, that is because we, we have not been doing the chanting consciously, or maybe with more devotion or with more earnest, and that is how we have not been able to create a thing. So what you are pursuing in the effort is, what you're trying to do is what is in the conscious mind, you're trying to push into the subconscious, but the
Yes.
subconscious is cluttered with so many other things. So now your effort has to be especially to remove the personality defects, because it is the personality defects which are taking up a lot of space in the subconscious mind and preventing the chanting center from forming in the subconscious mind. And that's how the chanting is not able to increase. So this is also an example where we are seeing that uh, uh, how the functioning of the mind happens and how the personality defects are important. So we talk of just as I said about the incident about chanting. So when you start chanting, initially a very faint impression is created in the mind. Just a small faint thing. You tell yourself that, oh, when you are free, sometime you may remember that you have to chant, or you may actually make a discipline and sit at a particular point and chant. And then what happens is, if you keep repeating that behavior, that impression, the word we use in our Sanskrit and other Indian languages for that is sanskar. So the sanskar of chanting becomes very strong. So what happens is, this sanskar, as it becomes bigger and bigger, it starts influencing all the centers, and then that becomes our attitude. And the thoughts which are emanating from the subconscious are related to the attitude. And as we all know, it is the thoughts that get converted to actions. So this is the way the sanskars are formed, our attitudes are determined, our thoughts happen, and our actions happen. So what we are trying to do is, here we are we spoke about chanting. It's a positive thing. So we're trying to create an impression that will shape our attitude, that will give us the positive thoughts, and that will lead to spiritual progress, right action. Like for example, if you keep chanting, you will start getting an attitude of sattvikata forms. Then you get the thought that yes, let me go to satsang, let me do more chanting, and then you will take action accordingly. So with negative things, the same phenomenon has been happening with us for so many years with the negative things. Like for example, if I don't like a particular behavior, then I say that I don't like it, I don't like it. Every time I see somebody behaving like that, I tell I don't like it. And you know, that impression gets stronger and stronger and stronger. And that is how we develop prejudices about certain behavior, certain people. For example, I may have an impression. See, this has created problems worldwide. For example, the in America, if you see the whites and the blacks. So all the whites, they have created an impression in their mind that they don't like bad people, black people. So black people are, lower than the white people. Black people indulge in crime. So this kind of impression, it has been created and reinforced. Nobody has to try to remove that thing and change that thing. So finally, it has become a big prejudice. And now it is so widely prevalent in the society. So we talk then of discrimination, whites against blacks. So that is a negative kind of thing. Similarly, we may be creating so many wrong impressions in our mind, and that is what has resulted in the final personality defect, and that leads to wrong behaviors. So we have to start with creating the right impressions, right attitude, right thoughts, and then right actions will follow. So now, but our mind, as I said, the mind is so full of all these negative things. Now, how does one go about? See, if it is gangrene in a tip of the finger or tip of the toe, we can cut it and remove it. But when the mind, it is so complex and it is so subtle. So how do we change? How do we change the impressions? How do we declutter? How do we remove all that is not required? That is what is the technique of auto-suggestion, method of removing the personality defects that we are going to talk about in the successive sessions. See, this personality defect removal, what we have discussed that day and today, it's only to impress upon the mind that it is very important to do the personality defect removal process, and without having a definite goal. See, as we all are aware, when we have the goal defined, then only we take action towards that. So if we are keeping the goal of personality defect removal aside, a lot of people do spiritual practice and they think that by doing spiritual practice, the personality defect will go. But what they miss to see, unfortunately, is that when they're putting in so much effort to do sadhana, a lot of it is getting wasted in the form of these personality defects. So we are trying to understand and convince ourselves today that personality defect removal is and there is a definite technique which Param Pujya Dr. Athavale has given to us. So we have to note the things, take note of our personality defects and work towards that. So the next thing, as I want to, today we want to give you some homework. What I would suggest is each one of you who is attending this session today, I would request you to, just make a note of a few wrong things that happen every day. Maybe just 3 or 4, like I get angry with the patient because I was irritable, not because the patient did anything wrong. I was angry with the nurse because she didn't do anything, but I got angry, shouted at the patient, displacement kind of. Or it could be anything at home, or I kept my things unsystematically, or I parked my vehicle where there was no parking zone, all kinds of things. And these are the action level. Then at the mind level, when there are wrong actions or wrong responses. So these all we can note. What I would suggest is each one of us can take a goal, that at least I will note 3 points, mistakes that I do. And when you write, note that mistake. Try to find out what is the defect. Try to name that defect. For example, I had to search for my keys when I was leaving in the morning to the hospital. So the personality defect there is being unsystematic, unorganized, and untidy, and placing things anywhere I like. So this would be the defect for that. In the instance when I told you that when I shouted at the patient, it would be like getting angry. That would be the defect. So like this, we can try to make a list of at least 3 to 4 instances in a day, so that at the end of 1 week, we will have a list of the wrong behaviors that we have indulged in and the defects which are responsible for that kind of wrong behavior. In this, we have to take into account what we call as kaya, vacha, manasa. That is, kaya is by the physical body, vacha is in the speech, and manasa is the mind. So, in other words, if we have to put it in English, we are going to take note of wrong behaviors that have happened in thought, word, as well as deed. So, this is our homework. Is everybody okay to do this? Shall we try this? Please type S in the chat if you are willing to participate and do the homework. Can I have answers? Whenever we hold this kind of sessions, we always try to tell time and again that it is important to participate. Kindly say whether it is okay for you, whether you would want to do this or not. Please come forth. Any answers on YouTube, Dr. Anjesh?
Doctor, there is a message on YouTube by Dr. Arjuna by saying yes.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Dr.
And even in the chat by Dr.
Pallavi. Yeah.
Pallavi from Tirupati.
Yes, yes. Good. Thank you, Dr. Pallavi. Thank you, Dr. Manjunath. We really appreciate your active participation. Dr. Monita also has said yes. Very nice. Very nice. Okay. Let us commit ourselves to note down our mistakes and be present for the next satsang after 15 days with our list in hand. Let us see this, what we are attending this session, we should really get some benefit out of it, because this spirituality as taught by Dr. Parampuja Dr. Gurudev, it is a science of action, it is not just theory. So let us participate next time also with equal enthusiasm. Now we come to the next topic. Are the slides visible to everyone? Are the slides visible? 1 or 2%, can you just type yes or no? Oh, sorry. Thank you. So now we're going to talk about the celebrating the new year. As of today, especially more so in the metros, and of course it is being more and more seen in rural areas also. We have a tendency to celebrate New Year's Day on January 1st, as per the in blind following of the Western culture. And so much so that most people in India are also feeling that it is our New Year's Day also. And they have started celebrating this on a big scale. So a lot of people do a lot of meticulous planning for this day, like what would they want to purchase for New Year, whether they could go for any vacation, or which restaurant to go to have their meal, and where to have a party, which DJ to call, and like this. So, in fact, actually, if we celebrate New Year's Day on the night after 31st, on 1st of January, it is almost equal to getting ideologically converted for that day. So we are forgetting our ideology and following the ideology of the West for a day. So we are getting ideologically converted into the Western culture and leaving Hinduism for that day. In fact, most of you will know what do we see on 31st December night. Most of the time, 31st December night, people spend in feasting, boozing, dancing to loud music, and in vulgar manner. Then a lot of negative activities like rash driving happen, a lot of eve teasing, fighting, a lot of fights, riots, and overall law and order situation becomes difficult. The police have to deploy a larger number of forces on the streets and at all sensitive areas. So is this an auspicious way to begin the new year? So we want the new year to begin on an auspicious note with good things. But here what we are seeing is we are seeing with negative things. In fact, I remember when I was doing my immediately after my MD, when I was working for a short while in the casualty of my medical college, I saw that 31st December night, and especially this was in Goa, we, the number of accidents, the number of fights, and the number of hurt certificates we issued on that day, and number of people getting admitted to hospital with head injury, vehicular accidents, all just too much to imagine. From those days itself, I used to think that is this a way to start the new year? So I think most of us understand by now that this is the most inauspicious way possible of beginning our new year on this kind of with these events. So we are actually totally destroying our culture and getting converted ideologically. And moreover, one has to understand that to celebrate 31st December as the end of the previous year and 1st January as the new year, there is no significance except that we turn the page of the calendar. And there is no science behind celebrating 1st of January as the new year. Whereas if we look at the Indian New Year, why do we celebrate a New Year by the Hindu calendar on the day of the Yugadi? Or the word Yugadi itself means the beginning of the Yuga. So we celebrate it on the Chaitra Shuddha Pratipada, that of the Chaitra Masa, the first day is what we call as of the white fortnight, is what we call as the Yugadi day. So it has the New Year day, that is Yugadi, which is defined by Indian culture, has got a very strong historic, spiritual, as well as environment related reasons. So during the, if we look at what happens is in at the time of the Yugadi, we know that it is the Vasanta Rutu, that is the Rutu or the season where trees starts flowering. Whereas in December, it is the Shishira Rutu, that is where all the leaves fall and all that. And so there is a reason. Spring starts, so flowering starts. So it is definitely an indicator of something new being created, something new happening. So it is very apt that we start the new year on that day. Another important, very important reason, from the scriptures, which we have to all know, because we have to teach our children, we have to teach our fellow human beings, fellow Indians about this. In the Bhagavad Gita, in the 10th chapter, which is called the Vibhuti Yoga, Lord Sri Krishna tells about what are his vibhutis, in which maximum God principle is there. So in that, just as he says, Masana Marga Shirshosmi, it means among months, I am the month of Marga Shirsha, and he says, Rutunam Kusumakari. Kusumakari means the Rutu of flowers, so which is the Vasanta Rutu. Rutunam Kusumakari. So we have to know it is come straight from the God's holy mouth, that it is he is among all the seasons. He is Rutus. He is the Kusumakari Rutu, which starts with the day of the Chaitra Shuddha Pratipada. So during this period, the climate is very balanced, the temperatures are moderate, and the air is full of a lot of vitality. See, whereas in winter, in December, when we plan to celebrate New Year, in fact, all the plants, the leaves are falling off, and it is such a dull look, and people go into depression in December. Whereas with the coming of the flowering season, people go into joyful moods. So a lot of new things happen. The other reason why we celebrate Yugadi as the day of the beginning of the new year is, in fact, it was on this day that Lord Brahma created the universe and the Satya Yuga started. That's how when the Yuga was first began, it was the day, this day that the Satya Yuga, in the Satya Yuga, that the universe came into existence. And hence it is also called as Yugadi. So this is the reason behind celebrating New Year's Day on Yugadi Day. So, uh, so it is most apt that we should celebrate New Year according to the Hindu calendar on the day of the Yugadi and not on 31st of January. So there are certain actions that we can do towards this effect. See, for example, a lot of people tend to send us New Year wishes on 1st of January. We should try and convey to them that it is okay. It is the beginning of calendar year, because unfortunately we have adopted the Western calendar system at this point of time. So we can say, okay, thank you very much for the wishes for 2021. However, my New Year day is on Yugadi day, and we will not proactively wish anybody Happy New Year on that day. So this is the small contribution we can do to Hindu Dharma. And we can see that ourselves, we do not get ideologically converted for that day. And we can discourage other people also from getting ideologically converted. So this is about the topic of celebrating the New Year. So this is just I've tried to depict here. So in Maharashtra, I don't know, many of you may not be aware, it is called Gudi Padwa. This thing that each house, on the top, they will put up a stick, and on the right at the top, you will see something like this, an inverted copper vessel and a bright red cloth like this. This is called as the Gudi. So this works like an antenna, and it creates and attracts the very sattvic, highly sattvic vibrations that are coming towards the earth on that day. So this is a system followed in Maharashtra. Of course, in South India, we don't have this, but there are some border districts where this is also followed. So this is about the season of flowers. Then this was the day when Brahma created the universe. So let us resolve to celebrate the New Year on Gudi Padwa, that is the Yugadi day, and protect our Hindu culture. Let us not entertain New Year wishes on the 1st of January, and also let us create awareness among people who wish us on the 1st of January that we should not be getting ideology converted. We should try and follow the Hindu system, Indian system of celebrating New Year. Any questions about this? Are the slides visible? Fine. Now, are there any questions? Any questions on YouTube, Dr. Ranjita? Okay, so let us go to the subtle. Yes, doctor?
There is no questions on YouTube.
Are the slides visible, Dr. Ranjita?
Yes, doctor.
Okay, thank you. Yeah. So now let us proceed to the subtle experiment. You can see on your screen there's only just a picture of a person meditating. Let us, for a minute, concentrate on our breath and chant the name of whatever chanting you do regularly. You can do that. I will time it. At the end of 1 minute, when I say namaste, you may open your eyes and then we'll start the experiment after 1 minute of concentration. Your time starts now. For 1 minute, please watch your breath or do your japa so that the mind becomes concentrated. Namaste. You may open your eyes. Now please look at this picture and try to see how you're feeling about it. We can give a time of about half a minute for this. Your time starts now. Namaste. You may open your eyes. Please note down how you felt by looking at this picture. Now we will show you the second picture. Please look at that similar way. We will have time of 30 seconds, a little more than 30 seconds. Please observe how you feel. Your time starts now. Namaste. Let us take some answers. One of A few of you can volunteer. You can compare what you felt by looking at the picture on the left and what you felt by looking at the picture on the right. You may give your answer as left was better or right was better. Or if you feel there's something you want to describe, that also you could describe. One or two participants can please volunteer. Anyone who's watching on YouTube, you may also participate by typing in your answer.
Namaste.
Yes, please continue.
Yeah, the first picture seems to be better because it seems to emit a lot of positive vibrations and seems very positive, sattvic. And the second picture, which is like a lot of negative vibrations. Color itself emits kind of vibrations, and rajasic and tamasic vibrations.
Yes, thank you, doctor. Anybody else would want to volunteer?
Dr. Monica has replied in the chat by saying yellow was relaxing.
Good. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Anyone else? Does anyone else want to say anything? Let us try to understand how what is the difference. So, as we have discussed in our previous sessions also, I think many of you would have attended the session where we took an experiment about two types of earrings, you know, what we wear in the ear, ornaments which we use in the ear. And that time we discussed how everything in the universe has got this three components of sattva, raja, tama. That which has got more of sattva guna, that is what is very relaxing and comforting, whereas that which has more of rajoguna or tamoguna, that causes stress and is very heavy and causes discomfort. So, and that time we also discussed how whenever we buy anything for our personal use, we should try to study the vibrations and select that which is more sattvic, because it will make us feel better. It will make the people who are coming interacting with us also to feel better about us. So each just as each thing in the universe has got sattva, raja, tamas composition, each the color by itself also has is either sattvic, rajasic, or tamasic. So here in these pictures, there's nothing else actually. Just this is yellow color and this is black color. So let us come to the study of the colors. So white color is totally pure and beneficial. Yellow, blue, pale blue, and pink. These colors are sattvic. The colors orange, fresh, and green, orange and fresh green, almost have sattva and raja in equal proportion. Dark green and violet, these are have more of tamas and rajas. Brown and gray have predominant tamas and little bit of sattva and rajas, whereas black is a totally tamasic color and it attracts only negativity. Hence, many of you may be aware in by convention also, in any kind of what we call as Shubha Samarambha, in any auspicious occasions, one does not wear black colored clothes. So this is a thing that has been followed in our tradition, in our culture for centuries together. And white, as we know, a lot of surrendered people and all, they use white color, you know. Then sannyasis, many sannyasis, they use in their order, they tend to use orange color. And then there are grades. And orange color is used by sannyasis in certain stages because they have to do, it is not that they are totally renounced of duties towards the society also. They do have duties. So they need the Raja component also. They wear this. So this is the science behind the colors. So this is about today's experiment. If anyone has any doubts, you may please unmute your mic and you can get your doubts clarified. Or you may also type in your questions. Are there any questions on YouTube? I think we can conclude the session. Now I hand over to Dr. Ranjita to express gratitude and conclude the session.
Namaskar. Am I audible?
Yes, Dr. Ranjita.
So our next satsang will be on 18th April 2021. Let us join the satsang 5 minutes prior to the scheduled time so that we can understand the points and the topic discussed in the satsang from the beginning. Please send your opinion to the email ID given or to the WhatsApp so that we can try and deliver to your expectations and needs. In this week, let us try to put efforts to increase the quality and quantity of the chanting. Let us do chanting along with spiritual emotion and along with some activity and try to put the effect to practice the spirituality learned in today's satsang. Today's satsang was carried without any obstacles, for which let us offer gratitude to our Upasya Devata and at His Holiness Param Puja Dr. Adhwale. Oh God, it's because of your blessings that I could attend this satsang, and through this medium you guided us about spiritual practice. For all this, I offer my gratitude at your holy feet. And thank all the doctors for giving time. And we conclude today's satsang here. Namaskar.
I have a small announcement to make. We will be starting satsang of similar type for a new batch from 11th of March. So this batch we have conducted about 9. Today is the 10th satsang. So we want to get more people to join in. So we will be starting afresh from the beginning, from 11th of March. I request all of you in utmost humility and, earnest, kindly share contact numbers of your friends, family, relatives, colleagues who could be interested in this topic and who are spiritually inclined. And also, if they are interested in doing something for the nation or for Hindu Dharma or for the society, you may classify and also send in the details to the number that we have typed in chat right now, and it has been typed in the YouTube also. And do help us to work for the cause of Hindu Dharma and for the Guru's mission. See, the Guru principle is same, irrespective of which physical Guru we may follow. So, the Guru principle universally, its mission is to get people to do sadhana and progress spiritually so that they make the most of this human birth that has been granted. So, we request you to kindly share their details and their contact details as well as other details relating to their interests in the subject of spirituality, nation building, or social service so that we can contact them. We assure you that we will not share those numbers indiscriminately, nor we will be disturbing them by calling repeatedly or anything. We will exercise utmost discretion in trying to contact them. Please do help us. We look forward to your active contribution in this mission. And one more reminder to kindly undertake the homework that has been allotted very seriously, so that next fortnight when we meet, we can have a very active discussion, and we can go ahead we can go ahead rapidly on the progress on the path of self development in terms of personality defect removal as well as for spiritual progress. Thank you very much. Thank you, one and all. Thank you. Thank you.